Also, please know that you can ask a question. So we are going to do that via the chat or Q&A that you should see. Some of you are already utilizing the chat. So you can chat there, or you can ask a question in the Q&A. You can choose to be anonymous. You can show your name, whatever you prefer. It's totally up to you. If you called in only, meaning you're not able to see the PowerPoint slide or you didn't use the Zoom link, you can email questions to bus-career@utulsa.edu, and I will be able to view those and answer those questions. Questions, we're going to save questions and answers to the end at 12:45. And so allow time for that. I know some of you all have a 1 o'clock class, so we want to end it to give you enough time to remotely and online transition to your 1 o'clock class. This webinar is being recorded, and so the replay will be available on the Business Career Center YouTube channel. That link is listed there. I will also send the link out after the webinar as well for you to view. And I have another slide that also has it as well. All right, so a lot has changed this semester. And so one of the reasons we wanted to have this webinar is to go over what do you do now in light of the coronavirus and COVID-19. How does that impact what you had planned for internships or full-time jobs? I received a lot of questions, especially after our housing email went out and the full movement to online classes here at the University of Tulsa. What do I do now? You know, I had a study abroad trip and now that's off. Is it too late to look for an internship? How do I network now as in regards to we are not able to gather on campus and bring those employers to you? Maybe your internship has now moved remotely. So what does that exactly mean? Should you still be searching for an internship or job? We just had a career fair in early March. And so employers were there looking for interns and full-time hires. Should you still be doing that? And then in light of everything, just like our classes, just like our work, everything is going to be remote and virtual. So how do you prepare for those virtual interviews? So we're going to go through a lot of these topics. Know that things will change, and as they change, we'll have more virtual events. We have some planned that will also go into more in depth about virtual interviewing, networking, those types of things. And so this is just touching the surface, giving you a bit of here's what we know to date. Here's what you should be doing to date. Feel free to take notes. There's a lot of information in these few slides, but as always, you can always feel free to reach out and ask questions as need be. First and foremost, I want to reiterate how important it is just first to stay healthy. Definitely prioritize your health and everyone else's health. In this very difficult, uncharted territory this time. It's real easy to get overwhelmed. It's real easy to maybe ignore the social distancing rules. I want to just remind you that we all have to play our part in minimizing the spread of this virus. So as you're thinking about looking for those internships, those jobs, reaching out to people, the best way to do that is still virtually or via phone, and to not put your health at risk, to not put anyone else's health at risk, and to abide by those rules. And also just take time. This can be overwhelming. Take time to just breathe and just relax and not go full steam ahead, because that too compromises your health. So just wanted to do that first and foremost. So let's talk first about current internships and full-time offers. So this is a scenario. You have a current internship, you have an offer, you're ready to go, ready to start in May or June. The first thing to note too is employers are adjusting to a new normal. So we were out for spring break. Students were out this past week for spring break. Employers were not. And so that's when they were making decisions about how do they handle social distancing? How do they work home remotely? And so they are adjusting to that this week while we're getting used to having classes online. I say all that to say that this is new for everyone. Everyone's having to adjust and deal with the different things that are happening. So your employers have not forgotten about you. If you have a current internship or a full-time offer, they're just working through their list of things to do. they should reach out to you and let you know the status of your internships and your offers. Yes, we're going to proceed. We might not. Here's you'll hear from us in so many weeks. If you do not hear from them by this Friday, my advice is to go ahead and for you to reach out. This is showing that you're proactive. We don't want to keep you all in limbo forever. Employers don't want to do that either. So this is a great way for you to show initiative, to show that you're proactive and reach out to them. Highly recommend email first. We don't know what phone situations are like with employers. So reach out to them, email first. Your email contact is going to be your main contact who you've been working with throughout the whole process. So that's going to have a title of a recruiting coordinator, a hiring manager, perhaps, depending on the internship, etc. So you should have an email from someone. Maybe it's the person who emailed you the offer letter. That's who you're wanting to reach out to. Here's an example of a way to send an email. And this time, you want to make sure and let them know that you are aware that things are happening. A lot is in flux, and you just want to reach out and check on the status of it. As always, include your email signature so they know they have a way to contact you, the most current way to contact you, email, phone number, that kind of thing. So again, if you haven't heard by this Friday, draft those emails up over the weekend and go ahead and start sending those out on Monday for your internship and full-time offers. As you do that, a couple things to keep in mind. Be prepared for a delayed response to your emails. Again, employers, this is new for them, transitioning to remote work. So you want to be prepared for that. They're not ignoring you. They're just working through their list. Be prepared for remote work. So that may be an option that comes up that, we don't know how long our shelter in place or social distancing policies will last. So they may offer up to you, would you be open to work remotely? To do that, make sure you have the equipment to do so. You have a great laptop, you have a dedicated workspace where you can work quietly. Ask those questions. What would that involve? Do a little research on what working remotely is. A little different than attending class remotely because there's a work product. You're maybe got to log into a whole new system, a company system to do that type of work. And also have a backup plan. So in a second, I'll talk about what happens if your internship or full-time offer is canceled. So you want to start working on that backup plan now. So you send the email to get a status update. This is also a great time to keep your social media updated, your LinkedIn, your Handshake profiles. You don't want to stop networking. And go ahead and refresh those interview skills and resume skills. I know both career centers, the Business Career Center and the Center for Career Development and Professional Engagement are both open for virtual appointments. And so you can definitely refresh those skills and resume and reach out for help. A question may come up. An employer may give you the option of, we don't know what's going to happen. So if you would like to discontinue your participation in an internship or full-time role, let us know. I did get asked this question. And so is that something you should do? If the employer hasn't canceled it, I don't see a reason for you to. You still at that time have that internship. So there's really no reason to discontinue it unless you see some, it's just not going to work or something. But if they're still committed to you, I would say go ahead and stay committed to them and feel it out as you go. But at this moment, it's still relatively early. So if all was normal, in the sense of this was a normal year and we were on campus and all was well, you really wouldn't be hearing about internships, or if you've accepted an internship or full-time offer, about what group you're going to be working in until a couple of weeks from now. And so again, you may have a delayed response because things are a little bit escalated, but know that companies are starting to look at where you are going to be placed. I'm speaking from my past as a recruiter for a corporation. So there's really no point to withdraw from an internship right now unless the company is saying, we may not have internships, or there's no reason to withdraw from a full-time offer unless the company is saying that. So how are internships and full-time jobs going to change? It's not a matter of if, they will. So this is new for everyone. My advice to you is be prepared for that change. Um, Examples of change might be orientation. So where you go in the first day, you meet fellow interns, you meet fellow new hires. That may now be remote to keep companies on schedule, or they want to maintain the schedule that they had. And so you might be at, doing your onboarding remotely through webinars as opposed to in person. Internships and full-time jobs are going to change and be industry specific. As a former oil and gas worker, oil and gas has taken a bit of a beating, as are a lot of our industries now. But then some are coming out just fine. So we see different industries in like the event planning, a lot of our tech fields, because everyone's going remote, are growing just in the last couple of weeks that would need workers and help. So where there may not have been opportunity before, there might be opportunity now. You might have to work remotely. So meaning you may have to sit at home, kind of like you're doing your classes, and work remotely. There may not be as much in-person interaction. So if you think about a large internship program or an internship class, you might not have that interaction to begin with. That's not to say it won't be there later, but just be prepared for that. Start dates might be pushed back. I definitely see that happening. So where you may have started maybe that Monday right after graduation, it might be now June 1st for internships or full-time. In doing that, there might be shorter internships, meaning what may have been a 12-week could now very well be 8 weeks or 6 weeks. In the full-time space, you need to be ready for your responsibility or job roles may change, meaning that you may have been hired on for a particular job, but with the changes that are occurring, you may have to take on different responsibilities and roles. And so just be open to that. And if you are working remotely, you still need to perform as though you are in person. And so keeping that in mind as you go remotely, or the jobs and internships change, it's not a pass to just do whatever just because you may be working at home. You still have to perform as though you are in person. Back on the shorter internships, one point I want to make: if you are doing an internship for credit and that internship now becomes shorter in duration for the summer, be sure to check with your academic advisor or your professor for that internship class to make sure you're still meeting the hours requirement for that particular class or that course. We just want to make sure everything's in line and everything is on point, and that you still get the credit that you need. So what happens if your internship is canceled? So first and foremost, definitely be polite and understanding, patient and kind with employers. Before it's fully canceled, if you get an email, ask if there's a possibility that you can work remotely. This is where you ask the questions in a polite manner of, I know it's canceled. Is there any way that I could work remotely? Asking those questions, could it come back later in the summer? You want to keep the communication and network open, so things can always change. So as much as we like to think people will think through things could easily rebound, and they may need you for the summer for a smaller project. So you want to keep that communication and that professionalism and that network open. Alternatives, you could start your own project. So maybe you already knew what you were going to do at that internship. Maybe you go at it alone. Maybe you knew some people there that would like to work with you one-off. You may not necessarily be getting paid or credit for it, but that's still skills you can put on your resume. If you were doing an internship and maybe we're not thinking about summer classes, you could start thinking about those. I know that they will be online. Our summer courses will be online at TU. If you're not, if you're at home and we're thinking about some courses, think about some online courses that are free. LinkedIn has great online courses. I saw Cornell was offering some courses for free. So hone your skills that way. Reach out to your professors. They, are in the same boat we're in. They're not getting to do much research in person and on the college campus as they thought they would. So maybe you reach out to them and ask if there's something you could do for them. Keep searching. Companies are still hiring. Again, it's industry specific on which companies are out there. Ask for help in your search. Visit your career centers, your career coaches. Ask for help on how to do that search. And then again, with the internship cancellation, if you were doing an internship for course credit, as soon as that gets canceled and you see that there's no other alternative for that internship, and that was the one that was approved for course credit, check with your academic advisors to make sure to come up with an alternate plan for that course, because we still want to keep you on track to meet your graduation goals, your course requirements, that kind of thing. All right, what about job cancellations? So if a job happens to be canceled, again, be polite, be understanding. Again, ask if there's any way that you can work remotely. Keeping that line of communication and network open. Again, things will change. Reach out to the employers who might have been your number 2 or number 3 on your list. So hopefully you didn't burn any bridges. You know, we all, a lot of us get multiple job offers. So go ahead and reach out to someone who you maybe had to decline an offer. You kept that communication open. Just tell them things have changed. They will understand that because things are changing for everyone. And then you want to start the search. Again, there are companies that are still hiring, and ask for help on that. As we move on to the next slide to talk about the actual search, this is if your study abroad was canceled, you got internship is now canceled, job is canceled, you hadn't started searching before. This covers all of that. So is it too late to begin looking? No, not at all. Will the search be different? Yes, it will. You're going to put yourself out there a little bit more. While, you know, in my office, we love bringing employers in to meet with you in person. I'm very glad we had our career fair early March. We don't have the ability to do that now. We don't have the ability to bring employers in to be in the different buildings to meet with you in person. So most everything now, if not everything, will be digital, either through a phone call, through video interviewing, all of that. So that's the thing. You'll have to be. It'll be different. It'll be different. It'll be fine. So just be prepared for that. On your online search, that's going to be your best friend now. Your online search is going to help you a great deal. Again, you're not in this alone, so definitely ask for help. LinkedIn is a great tool, as is Handshake. UTulsaConnect.com, which is our alumni networking tool, not to be confused with Connect to You, which is the app that has all of events on it. Great resources. There's a LinkedIn workshop next week that I'll talk a little bit about Handshake as well. There's a UTulsaConnect.com workshop next week. So definitely attend those. Those are all virtual to help you with those searches. Company websites. So companies are still posting out there on websites. So check those websites, check with your local chamber of commerce, wherever you may be. And then I get a lot of emails from employers asking for interns and full-time. So watch your emails, and those emails will come to you with information on how you should apply. When you're searching, you're going to have to be open to different things now. So you have to think outside the box and think about your transferable skills. So it's not so much of, I want to be in this particular industry because I have this major and that's where I want to work. Think about the skills that you have. Think about the career fair we just had. Work those career fair contacts. We know who attended from those companies. We'll be more than happy to help you reach out to them from your career center. I remember this company was there and they were looking. I just want to check in with them, see if they still are. So again, it's going to be more on you now to put that out there. And as employers are posting on Handshake and everything, being out there looking at those, you're going to have to respond to recruiters quickly. It's a new way now to contact you about opportunities, and it's going to be more direct, meaning employers are going to contact you via Handshake. They're going to reach out to you LinkedIn messaging. On Handshake, that's going to be messaging. Or, maybe you filled out a profile long ago with a company and they kept your information and they'll reach out to you email. Keep in mind the quick response. A lot of times we're like, oh, I'll get to that in a second. I'll do that tomorrow. It's going to be a lot more quick now. It's going to be a lot more direct in a way that maybe our Career Center staff won't see because they have your information. They're wanting to fill those positions. So, again, you're out there working your contacts, networking, but they're going to be looking for talent as well. International students, this is just a reminder, keep in mind the requirements if you are in the US, the requirements to work in the US in regards to CPT for those curricular practicum trainings, which would equate to an internship, or OPT, post-graduation status. So International Student Services is available for phone calls and virtual appointments for you to reach out to them. And lastly, just a word of caution on this particular slide, just be careful in the search. You know, people like to scam in times of need and in times of turmoil. So just keep in mind, you should never have to pay to find a job or internship. There are lots of resources out there. So anyone asking you to pay is more than likely not on the up and up when searching for jobs or internships. Some search tips, just as you're out there searching on LinkedIn or Handshake, filters are going to be your friend. The terms entered will pull jobs or internships that have the terms that you put in there, not only in the job title, but the job description. So this will help you to widen your search, and think about searching on things, skills, or things you would like to do. So one of the things as we shift into how we're searching for jobs and how we're searching for internships is, don't focus so much on the job title. Focus on, you know what, I have a skill in Microsoft Excel. Search on Excel. And that's going to pull up every job that's going to have either Excel in the title, Excel in the job description as a skill needed, and take you to different industries and different jobs you might not have thought of if you're just thinking about the job title or just thinking about the major you have. And so you might have an engineering degree, but great transferable skills that would be great in maybe an event planning internship. Again, gaining that experience. So just don't narrow your search so much that you'll knock you out of some potential opportunities you might not have thought of. Filters by nature narrow your search, but they also help you as far as filters and Handshake of internship and full time. And then use the search bar for those skills that are needed. Alternatives to working in person. I just want to mention that, again, we talked a lot about virtual and remote work. So micro internships are great. They are, and we're moving very much towards a gig economy. And so micro internships are just that. They're short-term, professional, paid projects that employers seek students to do. You can, we have a micro internship page through Handshake. It's with a partnership with Parker Dewey. And so to get to that, you would just log in to Handshake, go to Career Center, and then you'll see micro internships. You can set up a profile in the portal of micro internships and fill out your profile and then start applying for those positions. These usually range 2 to 3 weeks or so. Great time to fill the void right now. If you are in between positions or something of that nature, micro internships are great for that. There's no limit on how many you can have. So just another option. Work on projects with your professors. Professors are always doing research and need help. And then think about university projects. So if you are in the Tulsa area, or even if you're not in the Tulsa area and there's a university or a school in your area, reach out to them, see what projects they have. I mean, we're all experiencing this halt in work. And so they need people who are willing and able and can help them do something. So talk about your skills, talk about what you can do, what you can bring to the table. Employers, they love that. And so that's just another great way to think about alternatives to working in person, things you can do at home remotely. Let's talk about the interview process. It's going to be different. There's no way around it. It is going to be a different process. Again, email is going to be huge. That's the first line of defense of how they're going to contact you. Employers are going to contact you. It's going to be through email. Confirm your interview times. Again, this is not, we won't necessarily have the capability like we've had before where you can sign up for an an interview in Handshake, and then you get the reminders, and we have staff that'll email you, yes, here's a reminder for that. You definitely want to make sure that you are using your calendar, planner, whatever you need to confirm those interview times, because it's going to be an email. Hey, we want to talk to you at 2:00. Here's a link to sign on to Zoom or Skype. Let's go. Think about your class schedules when you're scheduling it. Now that, I think a lot of classes are still meeting at their scheduled time, but if they happen to not be, or you're in a different time zone, that's something to think about as well when doing the interview. You have to be proactive in recommending a virtual interview. So as you're sending out emails or you're applying, the rule was we're open to an interview at your convenience. Go ahead and put out there, I'm open to a virtual interview. With the virtual interviewing, and there is a workshop later on in the next couple of weeks about virtual interviewing. This is going to be either phone, it may be video. A lot of times we are, when we do in a normal setting, when we do virtual interviewing, it's usually one way, which means questions pop up, we record those and send them in for someone to review. That step will more than likely be taken out. And it's going to be more in-person video. Or in-person interviewing via video, meaning you're going to see the person as opposed to you just talking to a screen and submitting it. It's going to be more one-on-one, but just video format. So that's something to keep in mind. That's a step that a lot of people, unless you were interviewing for a position that was not local, that was normal, but a lot of steps are being cut out now because it's going to be quick. It's going to be more direct. And so the best way to do that is just to practice some more, set up times to do mock interviews. I did a mock interview just the other day that was virtual to get you used to that. You would still dress the same way. So you're going to dress up just like you're going to be in person. You're going to have a nice dedicated space. You're going to make sure computers are charged. I recommend doing virtual interviews with a laptop as opposed to a phone, just because the angle's better and it's just a bigger screen, but use what you got, and practice. And so again, there's workshops coming up to help you with that as well. Lastly, before I hand it over to Shamiel, he's going to talk quickly about networking, but this is a great time to network. Those of you who've had me in class know I love the book, Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty, which is all about networking, but you're going to amp up the online networking. This is LinkedIn, make new connections you didn't even think about. Our alumni want to help. When networking, remember it should be beneficial to all parties involved. So you don't want to say, hey, I need a job, but share with people about what's going on at TU. I'm transitioning to online work. This is just nutty what's going on. How are you doing? They want to hear from you, but you got to be beneficial to them. So Shamiel, what tips do you have on networking? And you may have to unmute yourself.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm glad to be on. Thank you for having me. I really want to touch on this real quick. We talked about health as far as social distancing, but also take care of yourself mentally. So take some time in the morning to, think about what you're grateful for. Think about where you're going, and take some time to breathe, because, this change can be frustrating and can cause some worries and some anxiety. So make sure you do some self-care with yourself. Next thing is networking. This is a great time because everyone is on their computers, everyone is on their phones, so you can get in touch with people. So get on LinkedIn, and if you want to be an accountant, if you want to be whatever you want to do, start connecting with those individuals on LinkedIn and reach out to them. Don't reach out trying to sell yourself. Just reach out, say, hey, it's a pleasure connecting. I love building new relationships. I would love to talk with you sometime. Then start, posting on a regular basis, like, and post stuff like what you're going through, how's online courses going, where you want to go, and ask people questions, because people do want to help. And I want to make this quick so you guys can ask some questions, but that's what I would give you guys is just get on LinkedIn, start making some connections, and then start posting on a regular basis. And then see if you can interview 100 people and ask them, how they're dealing with the situation. How could you help? And what advice would you give somebody like you and what's in the situation that you're in. So those were my 3 tips.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And before we turn it over, we talk about the upcoming events. I wanted to just see, Brooke, did you have anything you wanted to chime in on?
Yeah, definitely. I think that, just like everyone is talking about how everything is changing and there's a lot of, you have to take it as an opportunity for growth. This is a chance for everyone to grow in the aspect of doing things virtually and learning what that looks like. And even for us now, like learning how to do things at home and making sure that we're staying on task. I would imagine that that's going to be a challenge for most employers and then also for you guys as students as well. So, just keep those things in mind. Like, this is a growth opportunity and nobody has specific answers right at the moment. So you have to have some grace and an open mindset. And then I agree with everything you said in this presentation. I think it's great resources. The one thing I did want to mention for interviews, especially since we're talking about having those virtual interviews and it's not necessarily recordings, it's going to be one-on-one, face-to-face. There is a resource, same place as where the micro internships is listed, called Big Interview. As long as you get to that link through Handshake, you can create an account for free, and it gives you a chance to practice having those interview questions. It is recorded, which is a little bit different than doing it live. So mock interviews with your career coaches would be your best option, but it is an option for you to see what you look like on screen, if you have any habits or like nervous tendencies or things like that. I know I have a tendency to talk with my hands. And so it gives you a chance to see that and have an idea of what you can do to put your best foot forward and kind of what you exude when you're in that interview. I feel like when you're doing things virtually, you almost have to look a little bit more excited than you normally would in person. You obviously don't want to be over eager, but you have to make sure that they know that you're excited to be there and really interested in what they're doing. And honestly, for these employers, it's going to be a lot about what you can do for them. Like, you guys are the younger generation. You've been around technology a lot. You've learned how to incorporate it in a lot of things. You probably have a lot more to bring to the table than you're thinking or giving yourself credit for right now. So take those skills and run with them. They're to your advantage. And there's a lot that you can do to really boost the system right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So before we get to our Q&A, just a few reminders of some things coming up. So on Monday, March 30th, we're going to do a virtual event with a company called Me in 3. They're going to teach us how to use video to tell your story. I had a meeting with them earlier today. This is the new normal. So while you may think, I don't read that well on a paper resume, this is a great tool to have of a link where you have a video. So that question and interviews tell me about yourself, you can actually answer that now in video and add that link to your resume. As you're sending that out, your resume out, as you're updating your LinkedIn and Handshake profiles, you can add that link to your video on those profiles, again, to help you stand out. We want to make sure that you're able to stand out, and this is a great way to do that. So that's Monday, March 30th. I talked about our UTulsa Connect, so we're having a virtual showcase with them. The Alumni Relations Office is going to show us how to connect. Our alumni want to meet you. They want to connect with you. They want to work with you on projects. So they are a great resource. So we're going to talk about how to get into to connect with them and how to use UTulsa Connect. I talked about our LinkedIn workshop. That's on Wednesday, April 1st. Again, these are all virtual. So grab your laptop, grab your phone. We're going to work along as I go through the presentation of how to make your LinkedIn stand out. We'll talk algorithms, because I love algorithms, and what's a great time to post, and all that great stuff about LinkedIn. And then hacking the internship and job process. This is done in conjunction with CSAS. So notice the different time. It starts at 2:10 with our Center for Student Academic Success. We're working with them to do a workshop on we're searching for internships, and it might not be, you may not have an immediate need right now, but you will when things get back to normal and we're back on the campus in the fall and you need internship for next summer, or even thinking about job changes after you've been on the job for a while. So that's on Thursday. I wanted to highlight the events too for our Career Development and Professional Engagement Office. every week they are having a virtual career lab. So first off is polishing your online presence, which again is going to be huge in this new environment. Resume and cover letter refresh, those tips and tricks, all that. You still have to have your resume and cover letter done. And then how to rock your remote interview. So you see the times and dates there, and registration in Handshake. So at this point, I want to open it up for questions. So you can use the chat or the Q&A questions. If you don't want to ask a question right now, you can definitely, email later. So let's see here. All right, I see a Q&A question. I'm navigating the screen, so let's see here. Bear with me, guys, as I get the Q&A up. Technology is awesome when it works. Let me... For my panelists, can you guys see the Q&A?
Yeah, so the question is...
Okay, thank you.
So the question is, I have a full-time offer, have reached out and got a response. We will be reaching out in the coming weeks with more details, with no hint of a potential cancellation. But in order to have a plan B, should I start applying to other positions? If so, how do I approach that application process without disclosing I have another offer and avoid running the risk of my current employer discovering it and rescinding my offer?
Okay, great question. So very much like it's a normal recruiting time with an offer. So you're kind of in limbo with your current employer. So there's no reason that they really have to know right now that you're out searching. They don't need to know that. So again, having a backup plan, you are well within your right and prerogative to go out and start seeking other opportunities as a just in case. And like I tell students, right now you have that offer, you have that job, that's fine. You could get another offer. And at that time, you make a decision on what you want to do. But as far as having that backup plan and approaching applying, there's no possible way. You need to know your network. So if it's someone out there who, you guys are connected or something of that nature, and they can get back to them that you are applying, just know who you're applying to and applying with. But you don't have to disclose when you're applying that you have another job offer. You don't have to tell the employer that you have the offer from that you're applying. You gotta, it's about you and you having that backup plan. Hopefully that answered your question. And Shamiel, sorry, I'm using you as my web chat moderator to see if I think there's another question. Okay.
Yeah, there's another one in the chat where it's, I'm a PE major. What is the best advice you can give me despite the downturn in oil and gas? What are other alternatives that would be a good replacement?
Okay, awesome. And so I don't know if Chris Wong is on, who's the career coach for our petroleum engineering, but having been in oil and gas, petroleum engineering is tough. Especially a lot of our petroleum engineers are going to look more so for our upstream companies, those E&P type companies. So other alternatives would be, think about some of the other skills that you may have in that petroleum engineering major. Think of other places you might want to go work. So midstream always weathers oil and gas. And so that's another option. Think outside of the energy industry. So engineering, my very limited knowledge of engineering, but has a lot of different courses that do have transferable skills. So when you think about, okay, what's involved in engineering, what are the skills that I have, using that to kind of propel your search and using those skills to search on things. So to not just wait on petroleum companies necessarily because of the downturn in oil and gas, but thinking, maybe you could possibly teach. You have a lot of knowledge. Maybe it's a consulting area. So think about companies. One that comes to mind is W Energy Software Company that helps oil and gas companies implement different solutions technology-wise. So you have the knowledge of how petroleum engineering works and how oil and gas companies work. So using that in a different space to help others. So that would be my advice. And I see that Chris Wong is on and listening. So Chris, if you want to type out some more suggestions, totally, or the person who asked that question, feel free to reach out to Chris Wong if my answer maybe wasn't satisfactory. But that's what I would think about, is more well-rounded, thinking about all the things that the knowledge you have as a PE major to explore those options.
So we have another one from.
This is so fun too, by the way. I love the questions. I love webinars. Okay, go ahead.
So we have another one from Joseph. I've applied to several internships this semester and last semester, and many have not replied yet. When should I expect an answer, and should I reach out to them?
Right. So, one of the things that frustrates me the most is how sometimes our employers can be a little bit unprofessional in letting you know one way or the other. It's a pet peeve of mine. Students do all the things right, and then all of a sudden, it's nothing, right? They're almost like ghosting you. So depending on how you applied, you can check the status if it's online, if it's in Handshake, and it's reviewed or declined. That'll kind of tell you reviewed means they have looked at your application. If you've applied in another sense, maybe a portal on their website, you should get a status update. It's totally fine. Now, if you applied last semester and even this semester, to go ahead and start reaching out, give it till Friday, like earlier on some of the stuff I was talking about. Sorry, someone is like knocking on my door at my house. So give it a little bit of time, maybe start reaching out Monday, just that you want to hear. And so to give them time to respond, because they are in transition. And then you want to go ahead and move forward with more searching. So I hate that people are not responding. It's very unprofessional, but you are now well within your right to go ahead and reach out and just ask for a status update.
Okay. We have another one from Chloe. I applied for a lab research internship and am supposed to be notified by April 4th, even though I applied in January. Another lab position might be hard to find considering that I cannot work remotely. So what should I be looking forward doing to find some type of work for this summer?
Okay, awesome. So if you want to focus on that lab opportunity, if that's what you want to do, definitely reach out to other possibilities in that area as far as lab. If you're open to new things, again, think about the skills. Chloe, I'm not sure of your major, but let's talk about your major. Let's talk about different areas. To think about the skills that you would have brought to that lab assistantship and how we can transfer those into something else. So we don't want to limit you. If you want to do lab work, that's totally fine, and definitely go for it with that. But we'll want to sit down and talk a little bit more about what your interests are, where your interests lie, and send you on the path that way. So you want to keep everything open. If that was a lab position at the university, start looking at some other universities. Maybe they probably have positions as well. And so just, again, keeping those options open to gain that experience.
Also, on that note too, we just talked to an employer who has a really large research lab that is run primarily by interns. I think it's in New Mexico.
Awesome.
And feel free to email Chris Wong. We can get you that information as well. But that might be an opportunity to look into. I mean, they're basically fully run by that. So I would assume as long as it's business as usual for them, there would still be opportunities there. So.
Very good. Thank you.
All right. So we have another one. My summer plans were canceled. Is it too late to find a career-related summer job internship? And how should I begin to look for them?
Right. So never too late. So summer plans, I'm not sure if that means study abroad or another position, but it's never too late. You'll want to definitely beef up your LinkedIn. You're going to be, and I use the term aggressive in a positive sense, aggressive in your search, utilizing LinkedIn, Handshake, career coaches. If you're in the College of Business, the Career Center. and start looking for those opportunities. So it's not too late. Companies are still hiring, just knowing that it's going to be different in the sense that the networking companies won't be on campus, obviously, but it's not too late to start looking. But today is the day to start doing that.
Next one is, I'm working with a professor right now on a research project in the business school. What is the process on trying to continue it during the summer? He said,
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, yeah. So for the business school, you definitely want to reach out to that particular professor, get a status update. If you're wanting to do that for credit or for class, I don't know if that particular professor is your faculty advisor. You'll want to check with Patty Kitchen, Tammy Barrett, or Rick Arrington on continuing that for credit. If you don't need credit, then it's just a matter of working that out with your professor, asking them what other work they need, how long is the project going to go to continue working on that. And always add that to your resume as well.
Awesome. I think that was the last question. Yes, that was the last question.
Okay, very cool.
And so to all the people that are still on, I added Chris Wong's email in the chat, and I have my information. Connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram. I'll put my email in here as well, so connect with me. I'm free to answer some questions if you guys have anything for me too.
Awesome. That leads to our next slide. Thank you, Shamiel. So both Career Centers, thank you all for joining us today. Just as a reminder, both Career Centers are open for virtual appointments. Here are all the contacts, the career coaches, the Business Career Center, and Shamiel. Reach out to Shamiel. Wealth of information. So happy he could join us today. Shamiel and I actually met through networking. That was all LinkedIn, that was handshake. So happy he was able to join us today. And as a reminder, the replay will be available on the Business Career Center YouTube channel after this presentation to everyone who is on or who registered. I'll send out the link and also send out the slides as well so you have them for reference. That's all I have. Brooke or Shamiel, if you have any parting words, feel free to go at it.
Keep an open mind, optimistic outlook, and I mean, good things are going to happen. It may take a little bit more time than what we're used to, but there's opportunities out there. So just have some grace and embrace the change.
Absolutely.
What I would just add to that is just, same thing. Wake up in the morning and be grateful. Get your schedule together, and this is all teaching us how to be flexible. As an entrepreneur myself, I'm learning to be flexible and to pivot, and this is teaching us how to pivot and redirect and learn how to adjust. So look at this as a growth opportunity rather than a detriment to where you want to go.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So as you exit the webinar today, hopefully all it works well. You will be directed to a short survey that I would love for you to take just as we're doing more virtual webinars. It just gives us great feedback on what we can do better and all that good stuff. So thank you again, and I hope to see you at some of our virtual events in the future. Have a great day.